used because they were throwing tear gas also at the students.
So prior to that, did you hear of any shots that did not involve live ammunition?
Basically tear gas, yes. I had some.
When was the first time that you saw the tear gas? And
That was while I was coming out of the um, PIU headquarters.
okay, so now that's clear. That was the first time that you saw the tear gas and then you heard the shots. Can you tell us
Yeah.
what happened when Momodu Sise was shooting his weapon? Where was the shooting directed?
He was pointing in the air. He was shooting in the air. He was shooting in the air and shouting for the students to get away, to disperse, and shooting in the air. And then it was then that I asked Usman Baji whether he could ask him to stop doing that. Then Usman Baji told him to stop doing that, and he stopped doing it.
So this is another point that I would like you to clarify, because the commission has received testimony that when Mr. Baji was asked to tell Mobutu Sise to stop shooting in the air, his response was different. He did not, in fact, order him to stop shooting. What is your recollection exactly of that situation?
My reaction is I was the one who told Usman Baji to tell Momodu Sise to stop shooting in the air like that. And he did. Usman Baji did tell him to stop doing that.
Do
And
you
he did
recall what
stop at that
exactly he
point.
said to Momodu? Is it Momodu Sise or
Stop that.
Momodu Baji?
Momodu Sise. It was Usman Baji who told him to stop doing that.
And when Usman Baji told Momodu Sise to stop doing that, what happened? Did he stop?
At that point he stopped doing it.
At that time, you said you also saw tear gas and there was pandemonium.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
Can you tell us a bit more about the students, what was happening to them at that time? You
They
said the
were
PIU
running here
officers were
and there.
also throwing stones.
Yes, they were running all over the place. They were not running away. They were running backwards and picking stones and then throwing them at the PIU officers. And some of the PIU officers were doing exactly the same thing. They were also picking stones and throwing them at the students.
At that point, did you see any other senior officials apart from Mr. Usman Baji?
Usman was the Minister of Interior. He was the one there, and besides Momodu, I did not see any other senior officers there at that time.
And can you remind us again around what time this was?
This must be around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, yeah.
So please tell us what happened next.
It was at that point that I told Usman that I was not going to Banjul. I could not leave the students in that situation and go into Banjul for negotiations. I told him that I was going to concentrate on the students and make sure that they were okay. At that point, he bought the vehicle and the other student leaders got off the vehicle and they all came and joined me, and we started trying to organize the students so that we could get them backward, move away from the PI office, so that we could talk to them to go home, so that we could also proceed to go on to Banjul and continue with the negotiations.
Up until that point, apart from the PIU men, were any other security forces present on the scene?
No, there were no other security forces at that point.
Can you tell us what happened after that?
From that point, we started. What we actually did was we stood between the students and and the security officers and started moving the students towards um, Westfield Junction. And that way, we moved that way up to Westfield Junction. When we got to Westfield Junction, we addressed them and told them to go home so that we could go to Banjul. It was at Westfield Junction while we were trying to, but all along, while we were taking the students that way, the PIU officers were following us. They were also following us. By the time we got to the Westfield Junction, Babukar Jata, the Army Chief of Staff, came. And when he arrived at the scene, he came straight to me and asked me, Omar, what do you think we should do? I said to him, withdraw the paramilitary officers. I said, withdraw the paras. And he also did the same thing. He withdrew the paras, and the moment he withdrew the paras, the students became less active, and we were able to address them. And at that point, some of the students started going home.
So from what you've said, when Babukar Jatta gave the order to the PIU, meaning a different security outfit, they complied with his order for them to withdraw. Is that correct?
Yes, they did. Apparently, yeah.
Okay. And at that point, were there any other security forces around the Westfield Junction area?
No, they were not.
Can you tell us what happened next?
Now, we told those students to go home, and but while we were standing there at Westfield Junction, we saw a truckload of soldiers coming from the Bakau end and going to the PIU headquarters. And they passed by, they came through us, the crowd, and then information also at the same time while we were at Westfield Junction, that students from Kotu and Bakote were coming towards the bridge. And we discussed and decided that the president of the University Students Union, Aliu Davo, should go with Babukar Jatta in Babukar Jatta's vehicle to meet those students so that he could speak with them and tell them not to come into Sarakunda, that we had everything under control. Now, parted, and instantly we also got information that some of the students who were at GTTI when we were being arrested had mobilized and were moving towards the PIU headquarters. So it was decided that those of us who were there should go to that point in DIGP badges of vehicle so that we could do exactly what we were doing throughout the day, that is to go and stand between the students and the officers to stop, to prevent a conflict.
You've mentioned the presence of DIGP Sankumbaji, or was it just his vehicle? I want that to be clear.
DIGP Sankumbaji. Yeah. And in fact, what we did was we had asked for his vehicle, but he said he was not going to leave his vehicle with us, so he was going to move along with us.
Apart from him, you mentioned Babukar Jatta as well. Were there any other senior officials present at the Westfield Junction area at that time?
No, I can remember only these two because I spoke with them.
And can you tell us what time it was when you decided to go back towards the GTTI area?
It must be after 12 by then. Yeah, around 12 noon.
You mentioned the soldiers who were coming. Did the soldiers do anything, or did you not wait for their arrival?
They passed us at Westfield Junction. They came from Bakau End on Caraba Avenue, came through Westfield Junction and turned into going towards the PIU office.
So can you tell us what happened next? After you went with DIGP Sankumbaji?
Yes, we went with IGP Sankumbaji, but the students could not recognize us, but they saw the police vehicle. So when they saw the police vehicle, they started throwing stones at it. Then we diverted after the uh, Canopy Municipal Council fence. The vehicle turned into that side street. There was a broken fence at the back of the PIU office, headquarters, the compound. Then he went onto the compound through that broken fence. The vehicle was taken into the compound through that broken fence.
Can you tell us what happened as the vehicle reached the compound?
When we got into the compound, then we got out of the vehicle and started moving towards the entrance. Like our plan, like I said, our plan was to go and stand between the students and the officers. It was while we were moving towards the gates that there was all of a sudden a barrage of like gunfire all of a sudden. And then Sankumbaji said to us, those are live ammunition. So when he said that, he left us there with his driver and they went away. So we were there and the firing continued for some time. While we were there, some PIU officers came with guns and put us at gunpoint and forced us to leave the premises.
Just to be clear, do you recall where that live ammunition, that shooting came from? From who or which security outfit?
I wouldn't know because we were not seeing them. We were inside the compound.
And then at that point, it was the PIU officers who came, held you at gunpoint, you and your other colleagues, and told you to leave the premises. Correct.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened next?
Then we left. That was it. That we left. At that point, we realized that our limited peaceful demonstration had been disrupted, and the initiative had been taken out of our control. So we went away and regrouped. We started making contacts with the other members of the student leadership, and we regrouped somewhere in I think it was somewhere in Joswang, the other Joswang, not New Joswang, Parokono N.
Up until that point, were you aware of any persons or any students who were either injured or killed as a result of live ammunition?
No, we were not. I was not aware.
Can you tell us what happened next after that?
We regrouped. We went into the hiding and we started monitoring the situation from where we were, and things got worse. And we determined that we should spend the rest of that day in hiding. So we spent the rest of that day in hiding, and while we were monitoring the situation, we were out scouts. The people who were around us and were not members of were not actively members of the central executive, went out and bringing back information to us. In the evening, we decided to disperse. But before we dispersed, it was suggested that I should not go home, and that was it. I did not go home, but I went to in Sarakunda to stay with friends for that night, and the rest also went away. That was around 10 p.m.
You said that while you and your group were monitoring the events, it became worse. What do you mean by that?
It was then that we heard about the death of the journalist cum Red Cross volunteer Omar Barrow. We had that, and we also had that some students had been killed.
So can you tell us what happened the next day on the 11th of April?
Um, throughout that night, some people who visited my home informed me that there were um, people who were not in regular uniform were constantly onto my house and checking in my house, and then it was felt all the more that it was not safe for me to go home. Then the next day, around 7 o'clock, I left.
Where did you go?
I went to Senegal.
Can you tell us whether well, let me start again. You received information that there were people going to your home looking for you. Do you know if anything happened to your family members who were at the house?
No, nothing happened to them because at the time my wife was 8 months pregnant. Nothing happened to them.
So the next day you fled to Senegal. Can you tell us for how long you remained in Senegal?
I remained in Senegal for a little over 2 years before I proceeded to Canada.
During the time that you were in Senegal, were you aware that a commission of inquiry had been established to look into
Yes,
the April 10 and 11
yes, I
attacks?
was aware. Yes,
Did
I
you at
was
any
aware
point?
because
Yes, please continue.
I was aware, but while it was on, I generally protested through the media and offered myself to give testimony through other means other than being physically present, because at that point um, we were not sure. I was not sure of that they could provide enough security for me at the time. But my offer was not accepted. I could not remember them responding to my offer.
Did you at any point receive any kind of subpoena from that commission?
No, I cannot remember receiving from them. No, I did not.
You've mentioned that while you were in Senegal, a concern that you had was your security. Can you tell us if there are any incidents that occurred in Senegal that made you more
Yes,
security conscious, so to speak?
yes. At some point, we got up to a point. I started thinking about getting a job in Senegal and trying to live a normal life there. But two incidents happened. The first one was one day I was at RADO's headquarters, which was also my home. That's where I was staying because I could get permanent 24/7 security.
Perhaps not
Usman
everyone would know
Sow,
what RADO is. Can you just tell us what RADO is?
RADO it's a human rights organization. It's an organization in Senegal, in Dakar, and it has actually had branches all over the country. It has regional branches throughout Senegal. So they hosted me. Now,
So you were
one day
staying at
I
the
was at their
premises.
office, and all of a sudden, I was staying at the premises. Yes, that was also my home.
What about the rest
Um,
of your family? You mentioned that your wife was 8 months pregnant when you crossed over to Senegal.
no, they stayed on in the Gambia. My family joined me the last 6 months of my stay in that Senegal.
So please continue. You were telling us about the two incidents that occurred in Senegal.
Yeah. I was at Rado's headquarters, and Usman Sow came there. Usman then was used to be a colleague of mine at the university. I very well remember when we did a commercial law, and we were actually sharing desks. He came and said he was in Dakar to seek spiritual assistance from a Marabu, and but that was not convincing to me, because to me Senegalese normally would go to Gambia to seek for spiritual assistance from Marabus like that. A Gambian going to no other place but Dakar to look for spiritual assistance, that was not convincing.
Can you tell us which
So
Usman Sow you're referring to? Where is he presently?
Usman Sow is presently the director of the National Security Services in the Gambia.
And do you know the name of that agency or that?
Is it NSS, National Security Service? It used to be NIA though.
Indeed. Okay, so the security for intelligence service that used to be called NIA.
Exactly. It used to be called it used to be National Intelligence Agency, NIA. So I was being very careful in this. I did not want to contact any of my family members or any of my friends at the university to ask them about Usman. So I called Mr. Boris Divani, and I asked him, "Do you know Usman?" So he said, but I asked, "Do you know where he works?" He said, "He works for the NIA. He's an NIA officer." I said, "Okay." But I didn't tell Boris what was going on. I just got that information. Then I reacted, I mean, like in the necessary way, in terms of having security around me. And he kept coming for days. Sometimes he would come, he would ask me generally about the student demonstration, and I explained to him as much as I could. Then one day he called me from wherever he was and said his Marabu wanted to see me the following day. So I said to him, "Okay, you can come for me tomorrow. But before you come, please call me and let me know that you will come in." And obviously I had always informed my host about his comings and goings, and I told them what his status was, what his work was. And when he called me and told me that, I told them that again. So they instructed me not to receive his call the next day. So he called the next day. He was told that he could not see me again.
And what do you believe Mr. Usman Sow's intention was?
At that point in time, everybody believed that he was trying to kidnap me.
What led you to that
That's
conclusion?
Because why would he started by lying that he had gone to Senegal to see a Marabu. He never told me that he was working for the National Intelligence Agency, and yeah, so things did not just add up. And why would his Marabu want to see me?
Thank you very much for that explanation. You mentioned that there was a second incident. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, there was a second incident that was in connection with a lady called Kurambisan. Kurambisan used to be the wife of the legendary Kora player Lalo Keba Drame. He later married the late Jali Yankuba Sao. So when he was married to Jali Yankuba Sao, when she was married to Jali Yankuba Sao, they used to come to Bakote at a place where I used to hang out with my friends at my late uncle Karamba farm, because we used to woo there. So that it was then that I actually knew the person Kurambisan, because it was like we were almost living in the same compound. When she was there, she would visit with her. And while I was in Dhaka at Rado, some other Gambian refugees used to come with me, and we would be sitting on the street out there, and she would pass by in Salimina Drame's vehicle. And Salimina Drame then was supposed to be the security attaché at the Gambia embassy in Dakar. So I had already seen her, I had already known her, but she also arrived and explained herself in a completely different way. She said she was a foreigner. She did not tell me her name. She told me she was a foreigner in Dakar, and she was staying at a hotel, and she was given some money from Germany to give to Alaji Kante. Um, so she asked me whether I had seen Alaji Kante. I said to her, yeah, I saw him when he first came into this city, but since then I have not seen him. So we chatted there, and then we went outside Rado. We were still talking, and she asked me to take her. I said, take you to BOSS. She said, yes. BOSS, BOS is acronym for a social services office for refugees in Dakar. So it was in the same neighborhood that I live, but it was up the road. I said to her, I cannot go to BOSS with you, but if you want, I can get people to take you to BOSS. She said no. She wanted me to take her to BOSS. I disagreed, and we were there pushing and pulling, and then some people started coming out of the street that led to BOSS, and one of them was a guy that I know, in fact, a cousin of mine, who came and then recognized me and said, yeah, I know this guy. This is Omar JOOF, Mambatin. That's how those people used to call me. And that was the end of that too. What Rado did in connection with that one with her was to, because we didn't know why she wanted me to take her to BOSS when there were some Gambian youths there, and one of them knew me. So that made it very suspicious. We thought she was also trying to get me into something, perhaps trying to kidnap me. So what Rado did in connection with that was to send some officials to her home, and they warned her to stay away from me.
Mr. Juve, thank you for that explanation. You mentioned in relation to both incidents that your belief is that maybe they were trying to kidnap you. Had you heard of
Yes.
any Gambians being kidnapped? Why was that the main thing that came to your mind?
That was what came to my mind, and I did not because at that point I already become a refugee in Senegal. So it was incumbent upon me to report those incidents to the officials. And when I went to the Senegalese Ministry of Interior and explained the scenario to them, they advised to be very careful because I could be kidnapped like that.
Thank you for that explanation. Were you aware of the fact that while you were in Senegal, one of the conditions from ex-President Jammeh was that you be removed as president of GAMSU? Were you aware of that?
I was not quite aware of it until later, when students from GAMSU came to Dakar. Students from the executive came to Dakar to have a meeting that was to prepare for our Congress with me. That was when they informed me.
As we all know, you remained as president of GAMSU until the expiration of your term. Before I conclude my questioning, yes, can you just tell us what the impact was on you and your family, having gone through the events of April 10 and 11? Well, April 10th in your case, but also what happened to you in the end and the fact that your family only joined you 6 months later. Can you tell us the impact of this entire incident on your life?
Personally, I think it was devastating because at the student leadership level, we were not interested in having a demonstration. We just wanted to use dialogue to solve our problems with the students, with the authorities. But they made it so impossible for us to reach agreements. And when there was a chance for an agreement between us, they flatly refused to commit themselves to an agreement. So it had a great impact on me in the sense that we were not expecting the kind of carnage and the destruction and the loss of life that came out of it, because we organized, we unplanned for a limited peaceful demonstration. And that's why an important part of that demonstration was to station the students on GTTI premises. I got taken away from my family, as I have said personally. My wife was 8 months pregnant at the time, and I think this is true of not only me but most of the student leaders. We were all most of us were in the final year of our studies. Personally, there was nothing of interest in organizing a demonstration like that for me personally. I was in the third year of university. I had a government scholarship. My CGPA was 4.0. I was in the best of places anybody studying could be at the time. But April 10, 11 came and disrupted every aspect of that. I cannot compare that with the loss of life. And normally I am at very great pains to explain this personal things that I had to go through. But we also have to remember that the guns that were used to shoot the students and kill them were initially meant for us, the student leadership, because the authorities knew that throughout that morning we were standing between the students and the officers. So there is, and after, even after the carnage, after the death, most of us, some of us, our parents, our families, were told to look for our bodies at mortuaries. So it's something that we had never anticipated. We had looked for that, and it just came on us that one fine day. Personally, I was very much part of my community. I was like the type of person you would find in every aspect of his community. I was a youth leader. I was in sports. I was in religion. I very well remember when I became the first time I became a member of the Central Mosque Committee in my community. People were saying I was young to man that position. There had never been in my life at any time during my academic career that I did not do well. So it was a havoc that came on me. It took me away from my family, and I cannot explain in terms of words. There are no words to explain how much devastating it was on me and my colleagues and my family and everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Juve. I know that you have a few more things you would like to say, and the chairman will give you an opportunity to make some closing remarks. But thank you very much for answering my questions. I have concluded. Mr. Chairman, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma Council, and thank you, Mr. Juve. Extraordinary story. The moving around, the suffering here, family getting affected. It's incredible, really. Sorry about the suffering and the difficulties that were imposed on your family. Sorry about that. Commissioners, if you have any questions, please so indicate. If not, Mr. Juve, if you have any closing remarks, please proceed to make them now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for giving this platform and opportunity. This is something that me and my colleagues have looked forward for almost 2 decades. At some point, we thought that justice was never going to come our way. And I would like to avail myself of this opportunity to say a few words. First of all, I would like to respond to those who are all doing well in school. I can remember way able to advocate and had the Gambia School of Nursing renovated. The School of Public Health then, which was located on Marina Parade, was very bad conditions. But through our advocacy work, the school was completely relocated to Gambia College and put in brand new buildings. We also advocated and worked hard to have a mosque at Gambia College, so that students would not go all the way in town to get to go to the mosque. When we took over GAMSU, we came up with things that completely captivated our attention. We initiated support and potentially this for girls' education in upper basic school. If anybody ever tells you that OMAR and his colleagues were bad students, tell them to show the result, the evidence. We came up with those ideas, and we were able to convince the Minister of Education herself, Mrs. Anne Teres Ndongjata, to have monthly meetings with us so that we could deal with student welfare and issues. Our GAMSU Trust Fund became a big example, something that really attracted them, and that was the reason that I was made to go to a conference in Paris. I was selected to go on a conference which a student leader had never got in the Gambia, as far as I can remember. So we had those projects, and we were concentrating very much on those projects. The Ministry of Education itself accepted to have us collect money from our membership to the tune of $1 from every student. We wanted to gather at least $100,000, put up a fund of $500,000 so that Gambian students would not depend on anybody for the sponsorship of their activities anymore. So we had a lot on our plate. And so this demonstration and everything, to put it rightly, it was a terrible distraction to us. So those who would say that we did this for any other reasons, they are wrong. They are totally wrong, and they would never have evidence to the point that to back their accusations. That is my response to those who accuse us of having had ulterior motives to go on the demonstration. To the parents of the students that were massacred, we would like to convince you. We would like to convince you that we are here for you forever. You can whatever we can do for you, for your children, and for you yourselves, we are ready to do it, and we will always make ourselves available to you. And to the victims that are still in pain, we say endure. Thanks to God, there are other Gambians who are willing to assist you and to assist all of us to make sure that your welfare is taken care of. To the government of the Gambia, this is what I have to say. It is you have a good advantage to build up a good relationship with every one of us. The best way to do that is to turn your attention to the welfare of the victims of April 10th, 11, and give them the assistance that they need. To the security officers in the Gambia, I would say this: students and civilians are not your enemies, unlike what the Jammeh dictatorship was teaching you during your trainings. Students are not your enemies. Civilians are not your enemies. We are all brothers and sisters. But the fact of the matter is, your policing culture is antiquated. It is anachronistic. It's about time that you looked at it to change it, to make it, like conducive, to make it effective in an independent Gambia that is made up of sovereign citizens. To my fellow students and other young people, I will tell you this: the sky is the limit. You should dream as big as you want to dream. Nobody can stop you, and don't think that the lack of resources is a handicap to you. Your intelligence, your energy, your creativity, your innovations can make you overcome anything. And please do not use. There is a purpose for demonstrations, so do not use demonstrations for the wrong purpose. Demonstrations provide a platform for the where you can publicize your grievances and your issues. So if the demonstrations are not peaceful, you will not be it will not be effective in terms of highlighting your grievances and your problems. Let us work together with the security forces. Let the security force reach out to young people. Let them reach out to students and make sure that, like, a harmonious relationship built between us and the rest of society. This is something we can all learn from April 10th, 2000. And finally, this is what I have for all of you Gambians. The Gambia is all we have, and let us not destroy the Gambia. Let us try to build the Gambia, and we can build the Gambia, but we have to do it. We should not leave each other behind. We should all have patience. We should all be tolerant, and then the Gambia will be able to be the coast of Africa again. I thank you all for your attention, this opportunity that I have been waiting for almost 2 decades. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you very much, TRRC. Thank you very much, compatriots and friends of the Gambia.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. JOOF, for those closing remarks, as well as for your testimony. Council, I understand before we come to a close, you have an announcement to make. If you do, can you please proceed to do so now?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving me this opportunity. It has come to the attention of the Commission that a witness who has testified recently is receiving threatening text messages from a member of the public. I just wish to indicate that such activities are criminal offenses. It is an interference with a witness of the Commission, but not only that, a threat to anybody is a crime under the laws of the country and should be prosecuted. I just wish to assure this person and the members of the public that these threatening text messages would be investigated, and I do hope that the culprit would be discovered and arrested and prosecuted. But more importantly, I just wish to inform the public that they must desist from these activities. The witnesses who appear before this commission are doing a service to our people. They are answering to the call of the nation to come and provide truthful accounts about events that are of great concern to all of us, which are being investigated. Therefore, these people, no matter how we feel or whatever we feel about their testimonies, these people should not be threatened. In fact, they should be protected. So again, I call on everybody